Welcome to Law Excellence Hindu News Analysis. Today we are going to cover these topics that are appeared in the Hindu newspaper, which are important from the perspective of UPSC prelims and mains examination. Now coming to the first article of the day. Now this article is saying that crimes against humanity and an obtuse India stance. Now what is the context of the news? Now recently what happened? Now the treaty is going to be adopted by the United Nations General Assembly. Okay, a draft was proposed. This treaty name is that Crimes Against Humanity Treaty. Now, why this is in need? First of all, see, presently a lot of continuous wars happening between the countries like Russia and Ukraine, Israel, and ethnic cleansing in Myanmar, okay, and in African continents. Now, it is been said that in these issues, a lot of summons were provided, a lot of arrest warrants are provided. For example, ICC provided arrest warrant against the Russian president, Israel prime minister, for their, issues in the involvement in the war crimes and genocide. But what happened? They are not complying. For example, it is been said that Israel saying that we are not a member of, ICC, so we need not to follow. Right? That is what they are saying. Another important certain limitations that are provided in this article is that there is no accountability. Hence, there is no control over the war crimes and genocide. Now, first of all, what is meant by war crimes and genocide? War crimes is, violating international, laws of wars. For example, it is been said if any, people are caught in between the war, killing them or, sexual violence against women or killing the children, things like that, or killing the war soldiers or killing the doctors who are in between the war, helping each others. And genocide means that it's a violence against one community, one ethnic community, on the name of hatred and things like that. For example, Myanmar against Rohingyas and things like that. Okay. Now, limitations that are mentioned in this article is that, for example, Rome Statute. Remember, Rome Statute means International Criminal Court. Okay, ICC. Now, remember that India is not a party to this ICC. Okay. Now, ICC can only prosecute individuals, but not states. Individuals who are responsible for war crimes, genocide, and things like that. Okay. Now, another issue of ICJ is that it can only take cases if any state filed complaint. Okay. Another issue is that there are certain crimes that are not involved in the ICC. For example, terrorism, nuclear weapons. Using these things also comes under the violation of human rights, war crimes, and genocide. But the thing is that this draft treaty is not included these things. Now, India is saying that if you don't include these things, then what is the use of it? Because these are also crimes against humanity. Now, India is supporting that there is a need of a treaty like that, such as crimes against humanity, especially in this present context. But the thing is that this treaty is not having the provisions regarding terrorism and nuclear weapons. Okay, this must be included. Another important thing is that India is saying that you need to recognize the role of individual states. Individual states has a role to control the terrorism at their level, especially in the issue of in the context of Pakistan and China. Okay. Another important thing is that the state has to abide by the obligations. For example, in this article, it is being said that arrest warrant when issued against Russian president, no country is obligating it. No one is trying to arrest. No one is thinking that they are not relevant. Okay. Now this is what India stands. Now this is what the context. Okay. Now where you can use this in GS paper 2 IR, there is a concept about this international bodies and their mandate. Now this is the syllabus topic. There you can use. Now this is an ongoing draft context. Now further there will be articles about this in the coming days. We will discuss in that time. Okay. Now we will move to the next article. Now this article is saying that should legislatures in India have fixed tenures? Now, this article is mainly about simultaneous elections. Okay, this was we have discussed a lot of times. Today, I did not go or I will not repeat everything what we discussed in the previous videos. But there are certain important points mentioned in this article that we will discuss. Okay. Now, the first and foremost thing that is mentioned in this article is that there are certain questions raised by this bill. We will see. First of all, the first and foremost thing is that having a simultaneous elections will reduce the electoral expenditure. That is the first argument. Now, this article is saying that first of all, though certain expenditure is made by the government, but majority of the expenditure is done by the political parties. Okay. Even though if you are doing simultaneous elections, the lot of money that the political parties are getting cannot be used for development because it's the money of political parties. Then what? Then that argument cannot be credible. That is what this author is saying. Second, the question of reducing accountability. Right. Now, in this article, it is being said that if there is simultaneous elections, it reduces accountability of the leaders by frequent elections. Now, the counter argument is saying that there is another way of doing this. That is, sometimes the defections can be happen. By-elections can be happen. Now, by-elections are also a part of frequent elections that ensure accountability. Now, this is one argument. Now, another important thing is said in this article that in this bill, it is been said that there is no clarity over the term of the re-elections. For example, if there is any generally, if there is any by-elections happen to the Lok Sabha or state legislative assembly, the by-election is for the remainder term. Okay, if any person died by being 2 years in the constituency, his by-elections is for the remaining 3 years only. Okay, now there is no clarity whether this bill is allowing the election for the remaining 3 years or it has to complete the complete 5 years, and no one knows that. Now there is a need of clarity. Now, another important challenge is that benefiting of central government. That is, now it is been said that if there is any by-elections happen or if there are any elections that is benefiting the central government because of issue of double engine sarkar. Now, this is also an argument that is not correct because, for example, in 2014 elections were now BJP won with high majority. After 6 months, elections were conducted in Delhi. Now, in Delhi, BJP did not win. It is the AAP that is win. So this indicates that there is an electoral maturity, electoral intelligence of the people. Okay, people are very intelligent. Okay, they are very much aware of the political things that are happening in the country. Hence, they will vote accordingly. Okay, there is no such thing called affecting the federalism and things like that. Okay, that is what mentioned in this article. Okay. Now, another important thing is the approach of affecting the federalism. Okay, that is, it is being said that when there is any party that is in power at the central level, now it is being said that in the state level, because of the simultaneous election, there can be chances of lot of defections happen, lot of hung assemblies. Now this lead to political instabilities in the state level. Now that is what one of the argument. Another argument is that regarding federalism is if parliament completes its full term while state assembly is only in its second year, the assembly would be prematurely dissolved with elections held concurrently with the parliament, right? Now this approach undermines the principle of federalism. Now this is one of the doubt. Now, simultaneous election, there is a doubt that how far it can curb the horse trading, that is defection issues. Now, there are still doubts that are there that need to be addressed by the bill with a lot of discussion. Now, presently, this bill is in the draft stage. Okay. Now, the discussions are how to be happen in the overtime. Now, we will discuss this again. Okay. That is what the thing that are mentioned in this article itself. Okay. Now, we will move to the next article. Now, this article is saying that Eklavya schools struggle to meet 5% PVTG subquota, dropouts on the rise. Now, what is the context of the news? Now, this article is saying that a reservation of 5% is set up in the tribal schools. For example, you know that Eklavya schools are the residential tribal schools. Okay. Now, this is as per the idea of cultural preservation of tribals, so that the language that is used in the teaching of the tribal schools and also learning of traditional skills and all those things are provided in the Eklavya schools, which are provided in the tribal regions. Okay. Now what happened? You know that in India there are around 8% of the population. Now this is as per the 2011 census. 8% of the population is tribals. Now within the tribals, now tribals are heterogeneous group. Now what does mean by heterogeneous group? That means they are very diverse groups. Now there are certain tribal schools which are advanced, certain tribal groups which are backward, certain tribal groups are living in the urban areas, certain tribal groups are living in the rural areas, and there is religious diversity also. For example, Santals and Gonds are also having religion of Christianity, and certain Gonds are also adopted this Hinduism. In the northeast, tribals adopted Christianity. Likewise, certain tribals in the northeast, going for the naturism, that is worshipping the nature. So likewise, there is religious diversity also. There is language diversity also, right? Even it has been said that certain tribal communities such as Nagas and Negis, they are very much advanced that they are having significant number in the civil services. So that's why there are very heterogeneous tribal groups. And not only that, there is another tribal group which are considered as backward is PVTG. Okay. Now if you have to know the back history of PVTG, in 1973, Debar Commission was set up. It found certain tribal groups are very much backward in nature. Now, at that time, remember this Debar Commission is something related to the PVTG. Okay. At that time, it is said that primitive tribal groups (PTG). Later, it was renamed as a primitive, particularly vulnerable tribal groups. Okay. Now that's why they are very much backward in nature. Hence, In this tribal group, certain 5% reservation is provided to these PVTG groups to ensure that the education in the Eklavya schools is inclusive. Okay. Now this is what the context. Now the article is saying that it is very struggling to meet the 5% rise because the PVTG students are not joining the schools. Even if are joining, the dropout rate is increasing. For example, in this article, it is mentioned that around 14 students are dropped in 22-23. Now this increased to 18 in the next academic year. Now these are the things happening. So this is what the context of the news. Now why this article is important? Now PVTG as a theme or tribals as such as a theme is very important in UPSC. If we see this mains PYQ, it is been asked that what are the two major legal initiatives by the state since independence that are addressing discrimination against scheduled tribes. Okay. Now if you see prelims question, consider the following statements about particularly vulnerable tribal groups in India. Now it is been said that they reside in 18 states and one union territory. Yes, it is true. A stagnant or declining population is one of the criteria for determining PVTG status. Now this is also true. Now, third statement. There are 95 PVTGs officially notified in the country so far. Now, this is wrong statement. There are around 75. Now, Irilar and Kondareddy tribal groups are included in the list of PVTs. Now, this is right. Now, the answer is 1 to 4. Now, in this context, this question, signifies that the importance of this concept of PVTG. From the examination perspective, we will know certain things about the PVTG and Eklavya schools. Okay. From the examination perspective, remember that Eklavya model schools are established 1997 to 1998 itself. From then, especially for the scheduled tribe population. Okay. Now, remember these Eklavya schools are also for non-ST students also. Don't think that it is solely for the SC students. 10% is reserved for the non-scheduled tribe students also. Though this curriculum is for 6th to 12th class, it is following the CBSE curriculum. Now, along with that, local art and culture is also be trained as a part of skill development and employability of the students. Now, these Eklavya model residential schools, that is EMRS schools, are managed by this National Education Society for tribal students. Okay, remember at least these facts, basic facts from the examination perspective. Now, coming to the PVTG. Now, PVTGs are spread across the 18 states and one union territory. Okay, this is as per the 2011 census. Okay, now Odisha has the highest number of PVTG groups, that is around 13 groups. Second, Andhra, that is around 12 groups are there. Odisha also having highest number of population of PVTGs. Okay, 2.5 lakh, around 2.5 lakh. Now remember the fact that Madhya Pradesh has the largest number of tribal population, but PVTG population is high in that Odisha. Okay. Now these PVTGs, remember these names. Why? Because recently certain PVTGs are added to the scheduled tribe list under the Article 342. Okay. Now what are these three PVTGs from the Odisha? These are also from Odisha. Okay. Bondo, Mankidia, Chuktiya, Pauri. Okay, just remember if at all asked, it will be used. Now, what are the characteristics of PVTG as per the Debar Commission? First is, stagnant population. Okay, the first and foremost criteria. Second one is pre-agricultural level technology. Why I'm saying the criteria? Because if at all any question asked in the mains examination, you can say these things. Extremely low literacy, subsistence level economy. Okay, these are the categories or the criteria given. Okay, there is no law that is statute providing this criteria. This is just executive order or the criteria provided by this commission. Okay, now these are the things at least you have to remember from the examination perspective. Now we will move to the next article. Now what is this article is saying? This article is saying that Delhi government imposes ban on firecrackers throughout the year. Now, what is the context of the news? You know that in Delhi government or Delhi is often seen in the news mostly regarding air pollution issues, especially during the winter times. Okay. Previously, Delhi government used to ban the crackers only during the winter time. For example, recently it banned the crackers from October 14 to January 1, 2025. Okay. Now, Supreme Court also said that don't just ban during the time of winter because pollution is there all throughout the year. It is not only during the Deepavali or not only during the winter times. Now, Supreme Court directed in previously also. And Supreme Court directed that should use only green crackers and things like that. Now, because of the recent issues of rising pollution and all these things, now, and based on the directions of the Supreme Court, Delhi government now imposes ban on the firecrackers throughout the year. Okay, throughout the year. Now, the arguments or the counter argument put forward by the firecracker dealers is that yes, the court directed the Delhi government to take a call on the issue of the banning of the crackers, but it should be done on the consultation of all the stakeholders. Now, the counter argument is that the government is not consulted any of the firecracker dealers in the region. Now, this is what one of the things. Now, another important thing is that now this ban is not only in the Delhi but also Delhi NCR region. Now, Delhi NCR region means what? It comes under states like Rajasthan, Haryana, Punjab. Now, court is saying that now the onus is on the states like Haryana and Punjab. Now, Rajasthan also taken steps that it banned the firecrackers in the region that comes under the NCR region. Okay, now court is saying that now directing Haryana and Punjab government to take the steps accordingly. Now this is what the context of the news. Now from the examination perspective, this article is relevant because if you see this mains PYQ, it is asking that does the right to clean environment entail legal regulations on burning crackers during Diwali? Discussed in the light of Article 21 of the Constitution and judgments of the apex court in this regard. Now, why Article 21 is being issued in this context? Now, it is being said that Supreme Court in many of the cases, it has been said that right to clean environment. Right to clean environment is part of the Article 21 to live life with healthy. Right to clean and healthy environment is part of the fundamental right, Article 21. Okay. So that's why, because pollution means it is preventing the people's right of healthy, clean environment. Okay, that is what the context. In that case, in that context, Supreme Court banned the crackers. Okay. Now another important thing is that from the examination, especially prelims perspective. Now the order of imposing the ban on the crackers is being passed based on the Environment Protection Act of 1986. Okay, remember this from the prelims perspective. Okay, they may say that it is based on some Air Act because then the people think that air pollution is something regarding the Air Act, but it is wrong. Okay, it is based on the Environment Protection Act of 1986. Okay, so in this way, if any question comes in GS5 auto, especially regarding the issues of air pollution and also issues of Article 21 and things like that, you can use these cases. Okay, now this is the context of the news. Now we will move to the next article. Now what this article is saying? Now this article is saying that Center sets June 26 as a deadline for the solar farms to adopt Indian-made solar cells. Now, what is the context of the news? The context of the news is saying that Ministry of New and Renewable Energy issued a direction that the solar farms or the solar energy producing farms should ensure that they have to buy all the basic equipments from the solar cells, solar modules, wafers, and things like that from the domestic manufacturers. Okay. Now, presently, it has been said that more than 80% of the requirement for the solar cells manufacturing, solar modules such as wafers and things like that are being imported from the China and Southeast Asian countries. Now, this creates a dependency. Now, for example, tomorrow any supply chain disruption happen due to any war or any other issue. Now, this affects the India's solar energy ecosystem and things like that. And not only that, energy is a critical sector, okay, critical infrastructure. Now, these solar modules and also are related to the electronic components, right? There may be security, issues also. Hence, India want to slowly transition into domestic manufacturers. Now, it put a deadline that by the time of June 26 next year, they have to adopt the Indian-made solar cells. Now, this also in line with the Make in India and also the schemes like production linked incentives. Okay. Not only that, India has a target of achieving net zero. Okay, net zero by 2070. Now, net zero by 2070, 500 gigawatts by 2030 as part of Panchamrit target. Now, in this, solar energy has a huge role because solar energy is the largest component in India's total renewable energy sector, right? Now, presently, the installed capacity of solar energy is about 92 gigawatts. Okay, but the author is saying that though it issued guidelines, no, but it is being said that, but presently, Indian manufacturer has less capacity to adapt to this direction because we have only 63 gigawatts of solar module manufacturing capacity, but the installed solar energy capacity is 92 gigawatts. That's the first thing. Second thing, the solar cells manufacturing is just mere 5.8 gigawatts. Okay, but we need around 80 gigawatts. Now, this is another issue. Now, government is saying that presently it is providing a lot of incentives to the manufacturers so that by the time of 2027, now they want to increase this capacity to the 80 gigawatts and 60 gigawatts. That is 60 gigawatts of solar cell manufacturing, 80 gigawatts of modules. Okay, now these are the thing. Now, even though it is being said that, but there are certain internal factors such as wafers and ingots. They lack the capacity to manufacture the components used in the solar cells such as wafers and ingots. Now these wafers and ingots are the internal materials that are used in the solar cells. Though you are saying that Indian manufacturers should provide the solar cells, there are wafers and ingots which are still need to be imported by the China. Now this is creates again another dependency. right? But India, another important criticism is that India is not focusing on infrastructure challenges, especially regarding the storage system, right? Solar energy is an intermittent energy. It cannot be continuously produced. Hence, we need a proper storage system so that when there is a lot of sunlight in the daytime, it has to be stored. But storage system is inadequate in India. Now, there is a lack of storage technology. Next thing, servicing of solar panels. Now, it is been said that solar skill individuals are very low, right? And government is actively taking schemes like, recently PM Suryodaya Yojana to provide a rooftop, solar. No, government is working on one side, it is forget to focus on other side. That's why it author is saying that need to, accelerate the schemes. Like for example, PM Surya Mitra scheme was brought in which they want to provide skill, working professionals, especially regarding the solar modules. PM Suryodaya Yojana for rooftop and other things like regarding research and development in the storage, such as pump storage system and things like that. Okay, these are the things at least you have to remember because solar energy is a key because in GS paper 3 energy as a topic is important, especially solar energy is repeating. Now, recently there is a question asked that what is the advantage of solar energy compared to the internal combustion engines? That is what asked in the recent times or electric vehicles. So, renewable energy is being continuously asked. Even this PIVAQ, if you see, India has immense potential for solar energy. There are regional variations in its development. Elaborate. So, this theme is repeating. At least remember these points of 92 gigawatts. Now, another important mention in this article is the important thing if we use the domestic manufactured components in our solar cells or photovoltaic modules and all, it takes it increases the cost of the solar modules from 1.5 to 2 times than those imported from the China. Now this further increase the cost of electricity also, right? Which is one of the challenging thing. Now this has to be addressed in the long term. Okay, these are the things or challenges that you have to remember from the examination perspective. Okay, now we will move to the next article. Now this article is saying that both the houses are adjourned without any transaction. Now, this adjourned, houses are adjourned because of the protest by the oppositions in both the houses of the parliament. We don't go into the political debate. Rather, these things is important from the parliamentary process. Parliament as a theme is continuously being asked in the prelims examination. Okay. Now, from the examination perspective, you have to understand what is meant by adjourn. See, adjourn means that terminating sitting of a house so that it does not take up any business of the day. Okay, it terminates the business of the day. Okay, so adjournment is about a sitting. Okay, don't confuse with session. Now, session means in India we have three sessions, right? Now, winter session, okay, monsoon session, and budget session. Now, within a session there are a lot of sittings. Okay, that means many days. Now, that is what I'm saying. Sitting means now it terminates sitting with time. Now, adjourn means that it proposes a time when it will be reassembled. Okay, for example, it may be hours. Now, recently it means that the speaker is saying that the house is adjourned up till 2 p.m. That means if morning they started at 11 a.m., they are saying the house is adjourned until 2 p.m. That means they will meet again in 2 p.m. This is adjournment, adjourning of the house. Adjourn Sunday is that same terminating a sitting, but without mentioning the time for reassembly. For example, if speaker said that the house is adjourned and doesn't mention any time, it can be days, it can be weeks also. Okay. Now, this is what the difference. Okay. Remember that adjournment power is with presiding officer. It can be, Lok Sabha speaker or chairman of the Raj Sabha. Okay. Whoever it is. Now, don't confuse with the terms like summoning, okay, proroguing, and dissolving because these three are the things that are rest with the president. It is the president under Article 85 of the Constitution. He can summon the houses, he can prorogue the houses, he can dissolve the houses. Okay, it is a president. Now it is a presiding officer like speaker or chairman who is doing this adjourned. Okay, adjournment and things like that. Okay, adjourning is all about terminating sitting. Okay, terminating not session. Okay, proroguing is about proroguing of session or sitting, dissolving of house. Okay, these are the things you have to know basic differences. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you.